For opening night. We are here. It has happened. I got to admit, I think about it a little bit as though we just got through the entire offseason with nothing to talk about and kept this show moderately entertaining. Moderately. Which really means for those of you that have been doing the show for like less than a year, haven't gone through a season yet, like now the show actually gets pretty good. We've got stuff to talk about, real stuff to interact about, instead of making up stuff all the time. It's opening night. Jazz Pistons. I'm in Detroit. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. So glad to have you with us, tuning in whenever, wherever, however you wish. If you see this little thing come across Twitter and you want to jump aboard, there is a Q&A feature in which you're allowed to ask questions into this podcast format. So you're always welcome to do that if you'd like to. This one we're recording at 5:55 in the morning, East Coast time. Well, actually 7:55 in the morning, East Coast time, 5:55 in the time, Mountain time. Really excited for the season. It is finally here. We've come upon opening night. We can finally get excited and talk about this team. I was talking to Favors yesterday. I think this team's more ready than it realizes. It kind of lugged its way through the end of training camp. The Hawaii trip definitely took a pretty good zap out of the guys with the travel out of it. As great as that trip was and as important as it was in so many ways to the franchise, I think it then might have taken a little zap out of the group after that. All right, time for our pins across the world. We're going, as I said, every now and then I'm going to try to do this. This one is coming from Ann Arbor, Michigan, since I'm in somewhere close. His name is Jesse Golden Marks. He is an astronomy PhD student living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's originally from Saratoga Springs. He became a Jazz fan in the 97-98 finals run. I like the Jazz because of the cool name and jerseys, as well as the teamwork Stockton and Malone displayed. Ever since I've been an avid Jazz fan, my fandom really took off when I was in college at Brown University. This guy's dumb, huh? I avidly followed the team, watched every game that was broadcast national TV. It was during that time, about 3.5 years ago, that I began listening to your podcast. Since then, it's become part of my daily routine. Tip-off brings me closer to Jazz, also makes me a much more informed fan. I'm grateful that you do the show every day. I'm really excited for this upcoming season. Looking forward to seeing how Gordon, Derek, Rudy evolve and grow. I've gone to the Jazz Pistons games for the last 2 years. I can't wait for the season opener on Wednesday. Last year, I had the opportunity to meet and talk with both you and Ron after the game. You're both incredibly friendly, and I enjoyed it. I'll have to maintain that. And he actually included a picture of the two of us. All right, so that, Jesse Golden Marks, is our pin across the world. You can put it in Ann Arbor, Michigan. What do I got coming up for the show? We'll do our regular NBA 5, look around what's going on in the league, and then we'll talk about tonight's game. And if all works correctly, one of the things I hope we will do is we will take a little look at a pet play that the Pistons ran 4 or 5 times last night to great success. Let's look around the NBA first, though. Kind of continuing for a second, as I've said, Chicago, I'm really interested to see what happens as they go offense, defense. We saw them last night. They beat Cleveland. We'll talk a little bit about that one. 2 other teams I'm curious to watch. Actually, it's interesting. They're all Eastern Conference teams. Charlotte, a lot of people really like Charlotte. Jeff Van Gundy likes Charlotte on Zach Lowe's podcast. They have their two most highest possession usage players, Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson, use possessions below the league average. And it's hard for me to believe that a team that has players using possessions that much below the league average can be successful and be good. I'm very curious to watch that this year. I'm also curious. Atlanta got blasted last night by Detroit. We'll talk about that a little bit more. To watch the offenses in the East, because I really believe Miami, Atlanta, and Cleveland are going to be superior to everybody else by a considerable margin. And then the other team that's going to be interesting to watch is Boston, as much because they've become kind of the stats gurus team. And we'll see whether or not that works. On the floor last night, LeBron and the Eastern Conference defending champions ran into the new built Chicago Bulls, and they, in fact, did start Nikolai Mirotic. So Mirotic and Gasol were on the floor together. Gasol was -8 last night. Mirotic was +9. So in the minutes in which Gasol was not with Mirotic, it did not work very well. Derrick Rose, 8 of 22 for 18 points. He has just become an incredibly inefficient offensive player. Joakim Noah played just 17 minutes. He was incredibly impactful with 4 assists. Interesting to see how that works out. Is his body just broken? Is there a reason that he's not playing more? Is it just that offensive-minded? We'll keep an eye on it. That's going to be an interesting dance going on, and it might be the beginning of moving Joakim Noah out of Chicago. The Cavaliers, Kevin Love played. Excuse me, a little glass of water. Haven't had my coffee yet today. Kevin Love played 35 minutes, so we're beginning to hopefully find out whether or not that actually works. Mo Williams playing instead of Kyrie Irving last night, and then their bench did not look particularly strong without Iman Shumpert coming off their bench, and Matthew Dellavedova is still wrecking his havoc out there. Chicago beats Cleveland last night. New Orleans got beat by Golden State last night. Steph was absurd. The other angle on that is that New Orleans is playing Nate Robinson as their point guard. Kendrick Perkins is their center. It's going to be a tough road for them. The injuries that they have endured so far are real and problematic, and there's no other way to look at that. We'll talk some more about Detroit and Atlanta coming up here because we're going to focus on Detroit. There was an interesting little piece, probably nylon calculus, about drives. I want to share some with you. The player who drove the most last year, 936 drives, was Tyreek Evans. Number 2 was Ty Lawson. Number 3 was James Harden, now on the same team. Kind of interesting. Gordon Hayward led the Jazz. Players who passed the most on drives to the basket, Joe Ingles, 59% of the time Joe drives, he passes. Mo Williams, Ty Lawson, Jameer Nelson, Jared Bayless, Goran Dragic, Shane Larkin, Norris Cole, Patrick Beverly, CP3, and John Wall. Guys who passed the least on drives, I loved this. Rudy Gay passes 9% of his drives. Jeff Green, 11%. Tobias Harris, Thad Young, Tony Roten, DeMarcus Cousins, Rodney Stuckey. We'll see him on this trip. Andrew Wiggins, Austin Rivers, and Derrick Rose. Highest field goal percentage on drives in the league, James Johnson, Tony Parker, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Steph Curry, Goran Dragic. Still can't get it right. George Hill, Jared Jack, Derrick Rose, Manu Ginobili, Drew Holiday, and Damian Lillard. And lowest percent on drives, Trey Burke, Corey Brewer, Jeremy Grant, Ramon Sessions, Robert Covington, Casey McDaniel, Solomon Hill, Jimmy Butler, surprisingly, Eric Gordon, Zach LaVine, Kobe Bryant. And then my favorite is Rudy Gay. So the player who passes the least is also in the group of lowest field goal percentage for a drive. All right, let's turn the focus to the Jazz and opening night. I mean, we start trying to get some answers to some questions. As I said the other day, I really felt as though preseason has taught us very, very little. I mean, almost nothing. And so, can this team be stunningly impactful defensively still? It's the first question. Can it survive with poor point guard play, which frankly it survived with all of last year? Dante, it's not like Dante was an all-star. And I am more interested in how much the triple wing plays. Does it just close games? Does it play in the regular rotation? I think the other one, quietly as camp's gone on, with no Trevor Booker tonight, I think it's going to be really interesting on how the Jazz deal with their backup big minutes. Because Jeff Withey played all right, but has not been playing as well, and Tibor Pleiss may not be ready. So I think there's a chance you're going to see the Jazz, particularly with, they're playing Ilyasova and Anthony Tolliver as their power forwards. You're going to see the Jazz playing the small lineup with Joe Ingles, Favors, or Gobert at the center tonight, specifically to tonight's game. Big picture for the season, though, I think the questions are how much that triple wing plays. Can they be as impactful defensively, and Alex immersion to the team and how it works. He's been very, very talented throughout the preseason. He's worked incredibly hard. He's got a skill set that nobody else on the roster has, and now you've got to get him immersed into the team. in a lot of ways. Detroit was interesting last night. They hit a ton of contested shots. They blew Atlanta out. I think it's really good for us, frankly. If they lose by 20, they come out pissed. I think they come in on the back end of a back-to-back. They played a late game last night. This one's nicely there for the taking, frankly. They blew Atlanta out last night. They were up 19 for most of the fourth quarter, 17. Atlanta kept trying to make a little run, couldn't do it. And it wasn't, they hit a ton of contested shots. They actually were only 12 of 37 on uncontested. Stanley Johnson was 1 of 7. Marcus Morris was 2 of 9. It was interesting to watch. They came out and opened the game up really with a bunch of isolation plays to Drummond and Marcus Morris, and that's going to be a tough matchup in some ways. Marcus Morris is going to go isolation on Gordon Hayward. He's a little bigger, stronger, and it's a tough matchup. And Morris torched the Jazz for 32. Ilyasova is going to bring Favors out off the floor, unless the Jazz flip those around, but I'd be surprised. And let's get into this play. I want to see if I can get this up and running for you. You never know whether this is going to work entirely or not. This is a play. I was hoping to do it with player movement, but we're going to instead do it with video. We have a 15-second commercial here that will play first, unless because I've already seen it today. Oh, all right, sweet. What if I go full screen? Is it going to work? Let's hope this is working. It says I'm sharing. You guys will have to tell me. So this is a neat play they're going to run. It's going to be a right side of the floor pick and roll with Drummond and Reggie Jackson. Drummond rolls. Reggie Jackson reverses the ball to the top to Ilyasova. Because Jackson's gone down to the baseline, the big drops to kind of shadow them, Drummond ends up on the inside of the opposing big and gets wide open. So here, Ilyasova is down below here, and he circles down just kind of, and the pick and roll is going on the right side of the floor. So you watch Reggie Jackson will roll off this pick. Oh, this play was busted. Let's see. They're going to reset it. Here it is. So there's the pick. Ilyasova now comes, or Horford is Drummond's man. Horford drops to the left because he's got to cut off the Jackson drive. Drummond now gets below Horford. Millsap has got to go guard Ilyasova. And when that happens, unless Korver wants to leave Kentavious Caldwell-Pope wide open, Drummond gets a slam dunk. I'm going to show it to you on the little screen. Actually, I'm curious to see what. There's no way for me to know when that was going on, whether that worked or not. It's a pretty neat little play right there. And that was a busted version of it. And you can see the movement guys don't seem to be working yet. Let's see. Maybe they're going. Oh, look, they're going to work. How cool is this? So here you're going to see it's going to Reggie Jackson. They run the Ilyasova circles around, and it kind of busted, right? So now they reset it, and I actually don't have the capability of stopping this, I don't think. So there's the key moment. Is right back here. They're a little. This is interesting because they were mixed match, kind of rolled into a 99. But really, what happens is it's a high pick and roll. You'll see it. I'll show it to you a different version. And the minute this high pick and roll starts, Al Horford slides, number 15 slides. Drummond rolls. Millsap bumps him, but Millsap's got to get back to Ilyasova. And the minute Drummond now is on the inside of Al Horford on this pick and roll, Al Horford's dead. Millsap's got to get up to Ilyasova. Your only choice is to have Korver come in here and try to cut off the roll to the basket, but you're leaving Kentavious Caldwell-Pope wide open for a three. It's a really well-designed, nice play. Let's find another version of it. They ran it in the fourth quarter. I frankly like the circles better than the players. Sometimes it may work better to watch both. So here they come up. A little bit different. Same concept. Aaron Baines sets the pick at 12. Actually, it might work better to show it to you first. Baines sets the pick. They're going to pass up top to Ilyasova. The big is still attached. Now you got to get out to Ilyasova. Baines wide open, slam dunk. It's a really well-designed Van Gundy play. They ran it a few different times last night, and it caused some difficulty. Let's see if we can run it for you here, and then we'll go back. And I think that's the way we'll do things this year, is if we run it first, you get that vision that you can see it better. So Steve Blake is running it here. They circle that around. Here's the pick, and the big guarding Baines has got it. Now, in this case, they're blasting, but regularly has to just shadow that area because you're trying to channel the ball to the side now. It's called icing or downing or channeling. And the minute you rotate it out, now again, there's Baines. Millsap's got to get out to Ilyasova. He's wide open, and your other choice is leaving the corner three wide open. They ran it a good deal last night. It was kind of their pet play. Ilyasova threw one away that was going to work as well in another circumstance, which I'm actually trying to find for you just so you can see a third variation of it. But they went after it one more time later, and Ilyasova threw the ball. I think it was Ilyasova. Threw the ball over Drummond's head into the stands, but it was there again. And it's a really well-designed play. The way I think the Jazz will deal with it is trying to drop Gobert lower and not let Drummond get behind him. I think that's, one of the keys is to try to make sure you don't let Drummond get below you. The minute Drummond gets below you on your inside, when they reverse, you're pinned. Here's, I think, this is a guess, but I watched the game. I kind of know when this happened. So let's see whether or not this is the someone could drop me a note of whether or not the full screen worked. Because I'll go to full screen all the time, but my memory was last year when we went to full screen, it didn't work. So here it is, pick and roll. Drummond rolls. They bring two bigs out to him that unfortunately stays on the screen. They rotate, and there's Ilyasova's pass to Drummond, and it's just a lazy, bad pass. But if we watch the play through movement, you can see where the trouble lies on how you defend this play. It's really a nice – so here's Reggie Jackson coming up, sets the pick. The minute they shadow this pick and Drummond gets behind, you're dead. Because Ilyasova's lifted to the top, three-point shooter in the corner. This is just occupying space. There's the roll. He's now – Atlanta's playing to trap that ball. We're probably going to drop our big, but even if you drop the big, if Drummond gets on the inside of you, once the pass gets to Ilyasova, you're now able to post up Drummond, who's a big boy. Look how Korver's much deeper this time defensively than the last time. And it alters the passing lane. Is really, but the minute it goes there, Korver's got to release. I mean, Drummond's wide open again. I mean, you would think that's going to be a dunk. That's just a bad pass. So this is a play to keep an eye on tonight. It was beautifully executed. Well done. I will try to show this to you whenever I can, whenever there's a play of that nature. This matchup's interesting. If you go back to last year, Game 7, we played Detroit, and Gordon Hayward had played well but wasn't getting anything, and then scored 11 straight points to close the game. And if you kind of look back on the season now, knowing what we know, that may have been a huge breakout game for him in which he was able to take over the game, make the plays late, and gain the confidence of the coaching staff and himself on how to deal with it. And then secondarily, Trey Burke hit a big shot with about 13 seconds left in the win in Salt Lake against these guys. They were reeling. They'd lost 9 in a row, took us to the wire at that point. Jazz have really dominated the Pistons as of late. So that is today's show. Keep an eye on tonight. Enjoy it. We'll have Snapchats for you throughout the day. We'll have postcast afterwards, Empty the Noggin as well. And I'll talk to you tomorrow morning from Philadelphia.